BVI are in attendance, or Rio Tinto either.
No, they're not. Okay, so we'll just move on to the training and special guests. Jodi from Northwest Accountancy is going to talk about the stimulus packages. Thanks, Jodi. I'll mute myself.
Thank you so much for having me. There's been so much stuff going on with relation to the stimulus packages. And as things get announced, they take a bit of time to go through legislation, and then they take a bit more time to go through and for us to understand the rules. So I've got the two main ones that have been announced, and well, really there's three. So the first one is around receiving a refund for your next business activity statement lodgement, which I'll run through. The next one is the job seeker allowance. So this one's relevant for businesses whose turnover has decreased due to COVID-19. And then the third one is accessing superannuation. So I'll run through each of those, some of the rules and regulations to do with each of those things. And excuse me if I look off to the side, that's where I've got my notes. Okay, so the first one is around the PAYG withholding relief, or the boosting cash flow as the tax office is calling it. So this one is eligible automatically for every business who is an employer. So when you lodge your next BAS, which is the January to March BAS, or if you're paying your PAYG on a monthly basis, your March BAS, which is due on the 21st, so on Tuesday next week. Once you lodge that BAS, if you have paid PAYG withholding on that BAS, then you're eligible for that PAYG withholding to be immediately refunded back to you. So we don't have to apply for this one, it's automatic. And if you lodge on a quarterly basis, then whatever your PAYG is, your tax withheld for wages is on that BAS, will be automatically refunded back to you once you lodge the BAS. So it's really important that your bookkeeping's up to date so that you can get those BASs lodged. Now the refunds will be starting to come through, the credits will be starting to be processed from the 28th of April, and the tax office is saying check your bank details are up to date, and the refunds will take about 14 days to come through after that. So around mid-May, reasonable cash flows back into your bank account for that. So that's great. The tax office is also going to allow payment plans to be extended. So if you are having troubles with payment plans with the tax office, give them a call. There's obviously long waiting times. So if you can access a payment plan through your tax agent or through the business portal, then that's a great way to get that ball rolling with the payment plan as well. If you lodge your BASs monthly rather than quarterly, what will happen is when you lodge your monthly BAS, you'll get a refund back of the equivalent of 3 times what your wages tax is for that BAS. So if, for example, your normal wages PAYG amount on the March BAS is $5,000, then they'll times that by 3 and you'll get $15,000 back as a refund. Obviously, you still need to pay the GST component because it hasn't happened yet. I don't know exactly what's going on with this money. It is the intention that they do give it back to you as a refund, but obviously at some stage you're going to have to pay that BAS as well. So when it all starts rolling through, I'll have a better clarity around how it looks when we're actually doing the money and telling you how much to pay on your business activity statement when it's lodged and things like that. Okie dokie. It's really important when that money does come back into your bank account that you code it properly in your bookkeeping software. So even though you don't actually have a BAS to pay because you're getting a refund, it'll reduce that amount of BAS. And then when you get the rest of the money in, you need to account for it in your bookkeeping software so that it's accounted for properly when we do your tax returns. So I'm suggesting that in your bookkeeping software, you have a new account number in the income line called coronavirus pay-as-you-go incentive or ATO refund, or thing that you know that it is income that's coming from the tax office and not ordinary everyday business. There's two reasons for that. The first reason is that this income that's coming from the tax office is tax-free. So we don't need this 2020 ending year. The second reason is because when we go back and look at last year's numbers compared to next year's numbers, when we're doing our analysis of whether our business is going well or not, is we can see that that money is not our real income, it's a stimulus package income. So having it separated out as a completely different line item means that you have an understanding of where that money's come from, and also so that you don't need to pay tax on it as well. Now, there's no GST on that income, so make sure when it's being processed, take consequences on it. You don't want to have to give some of that money back to the tax office again later when you lodge your next BAS. Also, with relation to the PAYG relief, I've said that it's to do with the March BAS. It's also going to be again for the June BAS lodgement and again for the September BAS lodgement. So the numbers that are going to come through on those ones, if you're lodging quarterly, is half of what you received this time. So if, for example, you get $15,000 back as a refund this time, then when you lodge your June BAS, you'll get 7,500, and when you lodge your September BAS, you'll get 7,500. So this is a really great incentive for businesses who have got a tax bank account, who are setting money aside for tax all of the time, to give that little tax bank account a bit of a boost, because the government's going to pay some of our BASs over the next 6 months, which is absolutely great. May I ask if anybody has any questions regarding that first stimulus package? Great. Okay. So the second stimulus package is one that came through on Tuesday predominantly, with a lot of information from the tax office. It's around the JobKeeper subsidy. So JobKeeper subsidy, probably everybody's heard about this one. It's the $1,500 per fortnight that you're eligible to pay to your staff, that the government will refund you that amount. So it's designed to stop people going to Centrelink if they lose their job, and keep employees attached to employers, so that when we are ready to go back to work in our offices and be ready to serve our customers again, we have those staff ready to go, rather than having to go out and hire new people. So it's a system designed to keep employees attached to employers. Now, a few really weird and wacky rules are associated with this one. The first one is that everybody who's eligible gets $1,500. So even if it's a casual person who only normally receives $500 a fortnight, then they will get a pay rise because of this, up to $1,500 a fortnight. If you normally pay a staff member $2,000 a fortnight and you've had to stand them down because you don't have any work for them anymore, then you get to pay them $1,500. You can choose to top up, but you don't have to. If obviously they're still working, and some of you have said that you're actually doing more work than what you would normally, then that $1,500 then just becomes a help to your business to help fund the cash flow that you need. Obviously, you need to show as a business that your turnover or your income has dropped by up to 30% or more, as a small, what they call small business, a business under $1 billion turnover. So it's really important to make sure that you have your numbers compared to last year, so that you can prove when we get through to the application page next week, that you can say, hand on your heart, yes, my income's dropped by 30%. Now, some businesses it's really easy because you truly can't do anything, or your customers, like Westy was saying, your customers have dried up because they've had to close. So that's really easy to prove. Some businesses, though, it's a little bit harder to prove that 30% applies. Now, the tax office has said if you're borderline, if you think, yes, it's dropped by 30, but it actually turns out to be that it was 28%, they're not going to come after you. But if you put your hand up and say, yes, it's 30, and then it ends up being 10%, then that's a cause for concern. So the first step in relation to JobKeeper is making sure that your business is eligible and your business has had a drop in income of 30%. The second part of the JobKeeper is to make sure that your employees are eligible. So there's a whole load of criteria that is around whether your employees are eligible or not. The easy ones are they're a full-time or a part-time employee. And if they are, tick, they meet the list. They can't be under 16, so they have to be over 16 to be eligible. And there's a few visas who are eligible and quite a few visas who are not at this stage. There's lots of lobbying going on in the background. So you need to go through the rules and just check which employees are eligible for the JobKeeper assistance. And then once you've figured that out, then you can start paying them. So you pay them $1,500 per fortnight before tax. So you get to take the tax out of that. Now, superannuation's been a big question on this one. You don't have to pay superannuation if the employee is not working, but if they are working and the $1,500 is a part of what they're doing as their normal hours, then you probably do need to pay super on that. Really, it's not clear yet from the guidance that I've read which way that falls, but that's my understanding at this stage. Once you have started paying them, you will also need them to fill out a nomination form. So there is a form that is required to be filled out with the employee to say, yes, they accept that it is a JobKeeper payment. Your employees are only allowed to receive a JobKeeper payment from one employer. So if there's somebody who works for 3 different businesses, they can't get the JobKeeper payment for all 3 businesses. They can only get it for one. So it's sort of like a replacement to Centrelink, just keeping them attached to one business instead of all 3. I have had a few people ask me the question, if I've got 2 jobs and I can get the JobKeeper from one, but I'm still working at the other, is that okay? As far as I'm aware, yes, it is okay. But if you don't want that money, if you think it'll impact in other areas of your life, if you had too much money, so Centrelink repayments or child support or things like that, you can refuse as an employee to receive that payment. You don't actually have to accept it. To accept it, you both need to fill out the form, the JobKeeper employee nomination notice. I love those words. And you both need to fill that form out, and you need to keep that so that it is on record that you've both agreed that you're going to pay that. From Monday next week, you are eligible then to enroll your business as a JobKeeper business. So this is done on the business portal, or if you've got a tax agent, through the tax agent portal. So there's a few questions that you'll need for that to be answered in relation to enrolling, around what your bank details are for that to be refunded into your bank account, who the employees are, and if you're using single touch payroll to lodge your pay data every pay, then we should be able to just tick through the list and say, yes, all of these people are eligible. Now, a side note, one thing I read yesterday afternoon was, if your business is eligible for the JobKeeper, then you are required to send that JobKeeper notice out to all of your employees. So you can't just pick and choose which employees you want to give JobKeeper to. If your business is eligible, then you get to offer it to everyone. And then it's up to the employee to come back and say, no, I don't need it, or yes, please, can you help me out here? Okay, so once we've enrolled and registered to be a job keeper after Monday next week, and we're paying fortnightly or weekly or monthly payments to our employees, then every month we need to apply to the tax office for a reimbursement of that JobKeeper that we've already paid. So it's really important that it's to understand that it's just a reimbursement rather than cash in to pay the wages. You actually need to pay the wages first to then be reimbursed that by the government. So every month you need to do a declaration to say, yes, you've paid those wages and this is what I want as a reimbursement back. And then confirm that you're eligible still for the following month. So if you've just experienced a slight dip for a couple of months, then you have to keep coming back every month and say, yes, I am eligible. If your business has gone back to the same turnover as previously, this time a year ago, maybe in a few months' time, then you are no longer eligible. And so you'll need to withdraw from the system and start paying your staff from your normal income. So every month you will get that you'll need to log into your business portal or get your tax agent to help you with that to reconfirm that you're eligible and put that submission in for the refund. It says also on the tax office website about that reconfirmation, you don't need to retest your reported fall in turnover, but you will need to provide some information as to your current and projected turnover. And this will be done in your monthly JobKeeper declaration report. As yet, we haven't done one of these, haven't even seen what it looks like. So it's just a really good way for everybody to get a good understanding of what their numbers are. So we can help do some training around how to understand your profit and loss and run those comparative reports to check if your income has gone down or going up. Okay, so then once every month, you also just need to double check with the tax office or reconfirm with the tax office that your employees are all still eligible and they all still are employed by you and you still are paying them those wages. If they leave you or if they become ineligible for any particular reason, then you have to stop paying the JobKeeper payments and then you don't get the reimbursement back. Okay, that's a really quick overview of the JobKeeper side of things. The JobKeeper is also eligible for businesses as well. So if you're a sole trader or if you're a business running a partnership or if you're a business running as a trust or you're a director of a company who doesn't receive a wage, then you still are eligible for JobKeeper. However, we don't have any guidance on how to apply for that yet. So I'm waiting for that to be announced over the next couple of days. On my Northwest Accountancy Facebook page, I'm doing a free recording that everybody can watch or join in if you want to join into the Zoom calls about all of the announcements that are coming out. So if you do want to join in on that, I'm happy to send a link through to KDCCI to send that out as well. So you can ask any questions that you like and I'll answer them on the call. Okay, so the third incentive was around accessing superannuation. So this one, if you're not eligible, if you don't have employees, and if you're not eligible for the JobKeeper at any stage, then you are able to access your superannuation and put a claim in to take up to $10,000 out of your superannuation at one time before the end of June and at one time before, I think it's the 27th of September. As yet, that hasn't rolled out through either. So next week on the 20th, they're going to be putting that in play so that you can log onto your MyGov account and apply to get that superannuation money out. So there are some accessibility issues at the moment. So a lot of the things that they've announced aren't actually working until next week or the week after. But it is an incentive there. If you do have money in your superannuation and you are running short of cash, then it is an option for you to take money out of your super. Just be aware that taking money out of your super now means you don't have it for later for your retirement. Okay, any questions about the JobKeeper or accessing superannuation? No, great. Hopefully that was enough detail, but not too much to overwhelm everybody.
Thank you. That was great, Jodi. Lots of information in there. Westy was taking heaps of notes behind me. Okay, on to the next person. Brian from the City of Karratha. Did you want to give an update? Thanks.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, okay. I'll just share my screen. I've got a little bit of a presentation today, which Christina asked me to present based on procurement, quote, tenders, contracts, how the city runs them, and just some information for yourself in regards to, I suppose, the criteria and what we look for, just to give you some opportunities. So I'll bring that up on the screen in a minute, but just as a bit of an update from the city is that we are bringing a lot of work forward from next financial year to try and stimulate more contract work. However, what we're finding is if we bring too much forward, we run out of supervision and management staff at the moment. So you understand that the offices are closed and a lot of people are working from home. I'm not working from home, working from the office. So from an operational perspective, we're still working as per normal on the external. So all our staff are still on the ground. And we've also brought a lot of contracts forward and we're still cleaning up from the cyclone. So we've still got a lot of contractors working at the moment. So just watch this space because there may be a few more opportunities pop up coming out for the public to quote on and also to tender on. And we have touched base with a few companies at the moment trying to get them involved. Just something you might want to understand, which is probably not in this presentation, is that because of the COVID now, the city has gone away from 3 quotes in some areas if they cannot be provided locally. So normally what happens is we normally look for 3 quotes, and if they can't be provided locally, we only need to go to 1. So that's a good thing for us. So that makes sure that we keep everything local and we don't have to worry about 3 quotes from external. So it helps from an administration point of view for us, but it also gives us an opportunity to contact people direct rather than always having to go through that process. So that's just a bit of what I'll do now is I'll share my screen so you can see this PowerPoint presentation. Have you got that? It'll work?
No, it's not come through yet.
Oh, hang on. Screen 1, that one?
Yeah, that's starting now.
Okay, so I'll just blow that up for you. How's that, better?
Great.
Got it? Okay, so ultimately what it is just a little bit of a, won't take very long, and it's probably not as long as Jodi's. Sorry, Jodi. And probably not as much detail because I'm not an accountant as such. So thanks for that. So quickly, the objective for the city is to make sure we do best practice approach. We have to be transparent because we are using public funds, and we've got to be competitive. So the intention is that we have to comply with the Local Government Act and also the Part 4 local government functions in general. So we have legislation we have to comply with, which makes it sometimes tedious and boring and very hard for a lot of local companies to actually get involved. And that's the intention, I suppose, of doing a little bit of a presentation, just so you guys can understand that there is opportunities and we're happy to help out and help you as much as we possibly can. So these are our purchasing thresholds, and these thresholds are based on what we have to do under legislation, and also our purchasing thresholds is a council policy. That may change at the moment. You'll see the above 150,000 Ks at the bottom is conduct public tenders unless tender exemption applies, and we'll go into them later. But I think at the moment what the local government department is trying to do is now lift that up to 250,000 Ks, so we don't have to go to tender for anything under 250. So that makes it a lot easier for us, and we can also then not go through that process of a tender, which sometimes takes, forever, or it feels like it does. So just running through it, up to $1,000, we can just go straight to any contractor and say, we got some work for you, here's $900 and just get along and do it. Up to $5,000, we just have one quotation, so that's a quotation written in. So the first one's just verbal, really. The second one is a written quotation under $5,000. 5 to 50 is 3 quotations, and that's really just again an email or it's not a formal quotation process, so it's just an email out to 3 companies, and they give us a quote and we pick the best achieved. The 50 to 150 is 3 quotations, but it's a formal process. The process for that one is very similar to the tender process, which is the next one. It's just that it's quotations. We don't have to go to council for approval, or we don't have to advertise it statewide or nationally. That's the only difference. This is a little pretty picture which sort of might make sense to some people, but it's just a process we follow. So you can see on the left-hand side, it's new request for quotations, and then on the right-hand side, we've got more than $150,000 that goes to either a tender or expression of interest and application. Down the middle, there is exemptions under the Local Government Act, which do exempt certain businesses and so we don't follow the legislation. You'll notice that Aboriginal Business Directory WA there, if you're a registered Aboriginal Business Directory, we can go directly to those companies up to 250,000 already without having to go to tender. So that's the difference in some of those, whatever you want. Sorry, I've gone blank. I'm talking to a screen all the time. It makes it a bit hard, but so some of those are we don't have to go to tender on those stuff. The other one that's not there is things that change price all the time, like petrol. Because the prices are up and down all the time, we don't go to tender. We just get 3 quotes each time we do it. So I'll explain a little bit in regards to maybe this here, which may help out some people. We still have to, as a city, but go through our procurement policy. So even though we don't have to go to tender, we still have to go through our 3 quote system, just to make sure that we get the best. Unless, of course, now, like I said, there's only one company that does that job. So moving on, this is the process overview that we do, just for your information. So quotations and the tenders on the right-hand side. So you can see that privately invited on the left, and we have to publicly invite tenders. That's the difference there. Late quotations may not be accepted. However, we can accept late quotations, but tenders we cannot. And tenders are in a locked box. We can't accept anything after time, spot on the time too. We assess them against selection criteria, similar to tenders. However, it's a little bit different percentage-wise. We then award the quotes. We shortlist on the non-price criteria. There is before we assess it on price, we do the non-price criteria first. If the company doesn't meet a 6, then we don't go any further, because it's not always just about dollars and cents, and we don't always award the cheapest. So we try to look for the quality as well. So through the process, which you'll see coming up shortly, which will give you some idea, is if you don't get a 6 out of 10, then we don't proceed any further, and then we look at the price last. Then we do the tender award it, and then the contract's executed. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. The assessment criteria, which is what we put in our formal tenders and quotes, mainly include 4 main selection criteria. Each has a separate percentage value to accumulate up to 100%. We can change that as we like, depending on what depending on what the process or the scope of work is or the job is. We can change those percentages. And we do that from time to time. However, our standard selection criteria, as you see below, price normally, the CEO likes to have 60%. However, I'm a bit of a 50% man. Just gives us a little bit more. So 60% up to 60, relevant experience 10 to 15%. Method is 10 to 20%. Now, the reason we have these criteria here is so that we can identify the capacity of the actual tendering company. Capacity is a big one, and that'll request or fill out forms in regards to what your resources are, how much staff you have, all that sort of thing. The method is how you will go about doing that work and how you do that job. That's a very critical one there, because that then gives us an understanding realistically that you understand the job and the tender and the scope of works we're asking. So those 2 there, I would say, are probably the highest non-price criteria. And your relevant experience, I mean, you wouldn't be applying for it in the first place if you didn't have this here. However, those 3 criteria there make up your non-price criteria. So if you don't score a 6 there, in any of that, then we don't proceed to the price. So regional price preference. We also have a regional price preference so that we do try and support the locals as much as possible. So as you see here, the goods and services tenders up to 10%, up to $50,000. That means we can offer somebody, a local business who's $50,000 dearer than maybe a Perth business, the opportunity up to 10%, and the same for the bottom ones below. It's 5% up to 50,000 and 10% up to 500,000 for goods and construction services. So there's some big benefits there of being local, and we do try and stick to that as much as possible. And council is really solid on trying to get as many local businesses employed as possible. And you'll notice that some of our biggest contracts out here at the moment are local businesses. So that's a good. So supply feedback. So through the process, this is what you're allowed and not allowed to do, or we're not allowed to answer questions. So we're allowed to give you any information about your submission, not a problem. We can give you the information about the evaluation of your submission. This is after the closure, of course, and we can also give you information that's publicly available, such as tender register and council minutes, anything that's public. We can't and we don't provide any information about other respondent submissions, so it's all confidential, so that we don't say that, yeah, you missed out because such and such was $3,000 cheaper, or whatever that is. We don't let people know that, and we also don't provide the evaluation of other respondent submissions. So it's really focused on just the individual company who tendered. Just some tips which I thought I'd chuck in here is read the entire request document. A lot of people skip straight through to the price stuff and miss a lot of really critical stuff in the scope of works, or even in the process through it and the legislation stuff. Follow your lodgement requirements, ask questions. I really suggest that's a big one there. You can ask as many questions as you like to the project manager prior to the deadline. Normally what happens is there's any questions that are asked, but especially in a tender, will go across to every person who's applied for it. So if you ask a question based on a certain subject, that question will be downloaded into eQuotes or e-tenders and spread across to everyone with the answer. So any questions asked from anybody go across to all the tenders who've submitted or who are submitting. Make sure you address all the selection criteria. And I'll reiterate that the higher the criteria percentage means the higher importance of that job. So that would be, if I'm saying we've got 60% is price, well then you'll know that that's the highest priority in this job, it's price. If there's 30% up there on capacity, well then the city's looking for the capacity for the job. So it just gives you some idea, percentage-wise, on what focus the city will be looking at when they assess that tender or that quote. Complete all the fields in the price criteria per the required format, so that we make sure if you don't fill out the tender documents, the council or the project officer can just not assess it as a non-compliant tender. And that's very important, because we can't assess if all the information's not there, so it's non-compliance that just gets pushed aside and doesn't even get assessed. And tailor your response. What we do get a lot of is a lot of people respond to tenders the same as it was. So if it's for building a chair to landscaping gardening, it's the same tender. I'm suggesting you really tailor your response to the actual tender and the scope works that's being requested, because that it just makes us aware that you understand what you're actually tendering for, and you're actually interested in the work, whereas you're not just putting out tender documents and saying, yep, I'll go for this one. Sorry, that's it in a nutshell. Is there any questions people would like to ask, or is there any more clarification? As I said before, by any time, just give me a ring if you need any more information. Through the process, you can ring the project managers for clarification. Clarification is a good one. If you're not sure about anything, by all means, ring up and ask prior to submitting. Otherwise, you will probably kick yourself that you failed to do it just by not asking a question. Questions? Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. That was great. Next, we're on to Aidan, who's going to give an update on safety in VR. Yes?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks very much, Brian. It says here I can't share my screen while you're sharing yours, so if I can.
Oh yeah, Brian, you're still sharing your screen.
Am I?
Yeah, if you want to get it off.
I'm trying to. Hang on. I'm not good at this stuff either. This is all new to me. Hang on. What have I done here?
I have no idea.
I've lost everybody now.
Oh, hang on. No. Can you guys stop it as a host, Christina, or no?
Just trying to.
I've only got one person up now. Hang on. Right, hang on. Let me see.
There you go. Here you go.
I just turned the video off.
I can still see your screen.
Yeah.
So on
Sorry.
my screen, just the menu options or buttons at the bottom once I start waving my cursor on the actual Zoom.
It's not.
I can see your screen, Brian, and it's your emails.
Okay.
Oh, it's done. It's gone now.
There we go.
All right. So
Always get a bit confused when it comes to sharing screens.
You're working now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sharing a screen that's not the screen that I've got my camera on, so I'm not looking at it. I'm sorry. You can see my screen now though.
Yep.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to talk today. Initially we were looking at doing a demonstrative VR session that we've conducted previously, but I think it may be many months before we can be sharing the same headsets and face kits and stuff like that. So today I'd just like to touch on some of the stuff that we've been doing and the way in which we've been using technology to manage or assist us in managing the COVID-19 response, as well as some of the other things that we're doing in the safety space, particularly around the virtual side of things where we can actually empower collaboration without actually needing presence. So I'll just kick straight into it. When it's come to our COVID-19 response or our management of the challenges that have come with that, what we've really been focusing on is making things as simple as possible, making them accessible not only to our employees but also to our stakeholders, whether that's suppliers, subcontractors and clients, and which enables us to keep people informed but also keep abreast of the most current information as well. And from that we can actually really keep our discussions relevant and on point, and provide direct to once again our internal staff and external stakeholders. The way in which we've done that is very literally, if you go to www.euro.com.au, we've put it, the screenshot I've got there is literally of our landing page, and so I'll talk through these things, or these 3 or the 4 points. Essentially, we've gone about having our daily check-ins. So every day at the start of works, our employees and subcontractors can click the button, answer the questions, and that provides a documented interaction or declaration. The cool part about that is that wherever we've got people that are presenting with potentially some systems or whichever, we're notified and can put contingency plans in place. Lots of the time it's been around perhaps general unwellness, or there being unwellness in the family or whichever, and so we can put together common sense approaches to manage those things, whether it's reallocation of people in work crews or reallocation of work, so people can either work from home or work alone or in tasks that are not in close proximity with other people. So that's been working really well. We get the notifications and the metrics from that in real time. That's also been a bit of a bonus for us in the sense that what we're finding is many of our clients, for example, with our cleaning crews, because we go to so many different clients throughout the course of a day, we're able to do that declaration once and have it populate the client's form and send it to the clients, so that we can meet their their response plans and obligations around health declarations, etc. Does that make sense? Awesome. The next was to put together, there's a number 2, is the e-learning module. So Euro leverages, or we leverage just our Microsoft infrastructure actually for a lot of consultation and like micro learning sessions within the business. It helps us to provide relevant information to our workforce, standardise expectations, and I suppose that understanding across the business, particularly with COVID-19, where it's a new thing and people, people aren't, or there isn't a clear line of sight, or there isn't clear precedents to work off as far as what it is, how it spreads, etc. And so in that e-learning module, we could standardise people's understanding of what it was, things like how to wash your hands, when to wear masks, how to dispose of masks, etc. And we were able to just leverage like YouTube videos and things like that from the World Health Organization, and we've had really positive uptake on that. And of course, as an employer, it provides us with a record of consultation, so we can demonstrate that due diligence and that consultation and instruction requirement has happened. Also, upon completion, people are issued with a certificate. So it's freely available to anybody. Yeah, it's simply just the button number 2 on our website. You can hook right in and grab it. Pardon me. The other thing as well is having our, that number 3 point is to have our management plan on our website. Once again, the requirements from our clients as far as demonstrating that we've got plans in place, and that sort of bureaucratic piece in the background has been a significant workload in and of itself, where we're being asked the same or very, very similar questions time and time again. And so by putting it onto our webpage, we can centralise everything and reduce the amount of time it takes, I suppose, for the back of house administrative processes, so we can maintain our focus on supervision and frontline management of our works. So I encourage, you're welcome to, and I encourage you to check out those resources if they're of interest to you. I think also just in that one as well, I can quickly just sort of demonstrate that with that COVID-19 tab that we put on our homepage, you can actually get access to all of our HSE alerts, links. This slide deck that I'm using at the moment is actually available on the website there as well. So if you're interested in it, then certainly you can grab it from there. But once again, just centralising that information and making it readily available to people. The next bit is some of the stuff that I really look forward to sharing more of in the future once things sort of start to normalise or go back to normal, is how we're using virtual reality to educate our safe work planning process. And so in this case, we're upgrading our workshop out at the Robin Yard. And in this case, taking what it currently is, building a model that we can work from and really collaborate and kick it around and play with different scenarios, or identify issues and then different scenarios to manage them. And then in the end, be able to communicate that to our workforce and to, in this case, our landlord as well, so we can talk through upgrades and whatnot for the facility. So just to talk through this one in particular, we can see that right, so this is an outline of our yard. We were fortunate to get our hands on some drone footage so we could get a higher resolution, which really helped. But we've done it before just using Google Maps and just doing a screenshot. We then scale that to size, which you can see in the bottom right here, and we can actually start to build a 3D model for us to play with. The next step is we can jump into that model, and then in this case, this is Josh, our ops manager for the industrial services business. We're tracing in the different flows of traffic and pedestrians and things like that, and the different activities in the yard, which enables us to really visualize where all of our hotspots are for traffic management in this case, and ways in which we can change the layout of the yard to improve visibility and usability as well. So yeah, in doing this, we can come up with a number of different scenarios, and as an example, we could be moving around buildings and fence lines and things like that virtually, and you can do it you know, in seconds and minutes, rather than actually physically have to get the crane on site to start moving stuff around to see what it'll actually look like. So it's I suppose you can fail fast, I suppose, or you know, try a number of different things one after the other with no sort of significant cost impact. What we actually found in doing this is that if we open up, can you see my mouse pointer? Am I? Yep, sweet. We've found that if we open up the front fence here, and then also put some gates in at the back and at the front here, then we can start to achieve a one-way flow of traffic and really reduce the amount of pedestrian plant interaction within our yard. It's also the extension of our workshop, and being able to communicate that to the property owner in this case, so we can sort of cost things out and go from there, but also bring everybody within the business on the journey as well. The part of this that I really enjoy is talking to the people that operate the forklift and like the boilers that are in the fab shop and all those sorts of things, all the people that don't traditionally get invited into or have a lot of input into traffic management planning and stuff. And certainly as the safety bloke within the business, often it's like, oh, this is a safety thing, just get the safety bloke to do it. But I don't work there 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I haven't lived and felt and walked blind spots that might exist, or when there's surges in operational surges for deliveries, or how the truck might not make it around that corner as well as you'd like, or whichever. So bringing them into the process, you get a much better solution every time. So it's a really great communication and collaboration tool from that perspective. The other thing as well is that making these models is like the low level of detail, like I've got at the top there, that it's maybe half an hour. It really is like just snip it off Google, scale it to size, and then go from there. Unfortunately, I don't actually have I'm down in Perth, and my VR kit's in Karratha, so I couldn't give you I don't have any video footage of this example. I do have one that I've worked on with our partner GBSC, and it's around pricing a job, essentially taking something from a plan to a to concept. So this, I'll scrub through this, but the hyperlink in the PDF document and that QR code at the bottom will actually take you to the YouTube video. But essentially in this, what you'll see is I take the 2D site plan off a PDF, literally just snip it. Here I'm just making it to scale. So now it's to scale, and I'll go through and I'll trace around all the walls and stuff like that. I extrude them so they come up, and so now I've got this model. And then you can actually see, I'm not with me long, but don't tell nobody. You can see this is me in the bottom right-hand corner here. Actually in the actual model, where I can mark up a few of the bits that I've missed while using my computer, and then can literally go through, select different materials and finishes, and have, I'll just turn that off. I can go on and get into that environment and sanity check it. So as far as you know, heights of things, widths of doors, heights of bench tops, those sorts of things, those sorts of details that you just simply aren't available to you to conceptualize from a 2D model, go through and apply different color schemes. So actually, sorry, worth mentioning that this is actually in real time. It's not sped up at all. There are other parts of the video that I have sped up, but I'll leave that to you to have a look at if it's of interest to you. But like conceptually, it's super easy to provide a bunch of different color schemes and really just sanity check any ideas that you've got. And then, so from there, so it's a different, like it's literally that quick. It's kind of changed the color scheme and stuff. I've done this a little bit for my some of the renos that I've done in my house at home, and I'm sure it's saved me a divorce at least once. What you'll see just now is just simply by clicking on each one of the faces, I get a square meterage amount for each one of those things. So if it's tiles, for example, and I've got a square meterage rate for supply or supply and install, then all of a sudden I can price the job out very, very quickly. And I can confirm with our client as to what it is that they want and like what finishes they want and how much it's going to cost or whatever, which really empowers our customers to get what they want and get an understanding of what it is that they're paying for, and certainly makes it really quick for us to be able to deliver that. That's about that as far as that's concerned. So yeah, so steps here, we snip it from PDF, we put it into SketchUp. So SketchUp's freely available. You can get online accounts and things like that if it's not for professional purposes, if it's just playing around. Scale it size, copy the shell, and then do the VR bit. So the VR bit, it's not as expensive as you might think, but it does take some getting used to, and you do need to have a capital investment to do it. Yeah, and from there you can secure those outcomes. Once again, it's a really great collaboration and communication tool. So if it's of interest, then certainly have a look at it. Once again, this slide deck and these hyperlinks, etc., on the euro.com.au website under COVID-19 tab on that top right. And apart from that, I'm sort of wrapped. Has anybody got any questions, or preferably Dixie Divey ones? That are difficult to answer, or interesting at least.
It's Mel here. I think that's a really impressive tool. It'd be really cool to see it once this COVID stuff is over.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, very passionate about like getting this sort of tech into industry, because it's been available for a while. It just hasn't seemed to penetrate well.
Excellent work.
I think what was interesting there as well, Aidan, is that you were saying it is accessible and it's not very expensive either. The software itself is only, how much did you say it was originally?
So the base level SketchUp, it's for free.
Right.
Yeah, from a commercial point of view, it's not cost prohibitive. It would be somewhere in the vicinity of sort of $4 or $5 grand for the hardware, so computer and VR kit, and then for I don't know, maybe 300 or 400 a year, maybe $600 a year for the subscription to the extra software functionality. But it's not like it's 100 grand or anything. It's certainly accessible.
Great. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Aidan. That was really good. I suppose, and I don't know if you know, it says on mine, oh no, you stopped it, viewing the screen. We're up to number 5, so agenda items for next meeting. That's what it says.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is I'll send out a survey to everyone after this, and we'll try to figure out the business's pain points. And we can kind of go from there for the agenda for the next meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah. Cool. PAB presentation.
Didn't have any this week, just because it's the first one that we're doing through Zoom. But again, we'll plan to do that for our next meeting.
Okay, so yeah, I suppose next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jane, sorry. You want to unmute yourself, Jane?
Okay. There you go, Jane.
Could we hear a little bit more from Donna? Because Donna's provides a really, really good service, particularly for employing Aboriginal people. So I think it would be great to hear from Donna, and you know, to increase the number of Aboriginal people employed. She's a great operator, and it'd be good to hear a little bit more from her, how she can help us to get our staff, you know, because we've got ourselves got a little project coming on board and we need to get more staff, but it'd be good to hear from Donna if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Donna, do you want to unmute yourself? Thanks, Jane.
Hi, thank you, Jane. You just like chucked me in there. Basically what I was saying earlier, and I'm pretty new myself. I've only just been up in Karratha since January, so I'm starting to like slowly getting out and meeting people. Obviously, we can't venture out too much, but I'm one of those people who are still at work. I work in the office myself, so I'm pretty much self-isolating anyway. But we like to negotiate positions or roles that to come available, either apprenticeships, traineeships, positions, casual, part-time, full-time. Our goal is to basically negotiate the role before we put anyone in there, and sort of like screen them before we put them in there as well, so we don't let anybody down, like employees and our clients as well. So. And we do provide support, mentoring. If we have to assist with the tickets, training, courses, anything like that along the way, we will absolutely do that. So I think my intention today to come on and come into the meeting is to put my feelers out there, you guys, and give you guys a chance to know that I am here. Real Futures is here. I know that a couple of other providers in town are like working from home, obviously, and I'm still here in the office, so I'm available. So, yeah, if you have any interest in, and I suppose, like, if I can make Weird Any business online right now, if we could probably have a conversation later. If you want to shoot me an email, if we can sort of like set up a going forward contact, and like I would like to be the person you come to first sort of thing. So I'm pretty much like Real Futures here. But thank you guys for the opportunity. I know a couple of yous online that we already are in stakeholdership with, and appreciate you guys' assistance so far. You guys might be more familiar with Robin and Haley, who was working here before me. So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to be in contact with you a bit more.
So, Donna, just really quickly, it's a little bit out of my profile, but have people from Europe been in touch with you?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Thanks, Donna. Okay, sorry. So then when you send out the survey and that, you'll put the next meeting and everything in that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I suppose that's the end of it.
Just one more thing, Christina.
Yeah.
Any of the things coming up for the chamber and any training coming up, can you just let us all know, just so that, because most of it's been done on Zoom now.
Yes, exactly. So we're taking all of our meetings and events online, for the foreseeable future, until it's safe, to go back to normal operations. So our next one is the Grow Local campaign, and it's understanding the stimulus packages. We have the program manager here at Navicur.
Hello.
So that is on the 21st.
Yes, 7 p.m.
Yeah, 21st at 7 p.m. It's on our website, on our Facebook pages, and if you'd like more information about that, you can contact myself and I'll put you through to Nava. And we have our next Pilbara Women in Business. That's on the 28th of April. And then I'm going to do some planning on after we get the survey back from everyone to see what their pain points are, and hopefully we can do one kind of once a week or once every 2 weeks. We'll see what people, if they're available, if they're interested in this, and just to get, you know, the training in there while we can. So hopefully that's the plan for the next little while. And just to let you know that we're here as well, the chamber, you know, we don't have an open door at the moment, but you're more than welcome to give us a call and give us an email, and if there's any connections you want to make, we're still here for you guys as much as we can be.
Can you explain that, Christina, that the KDCCI office has moved?
Yes, so we have actually moved into the business centre, so that's on Headland Place. So we are managing their office at the moment, and I mean, it's an amazing space. The co-working is still open as well, so if you are looking for a hot desk or anything like that, the co-working space is open, and they have a boardroom there as well. So if anyone needs more information, again, get in touch with me and I'll put you in the right direction.
Yep, thanks.
You're welcome. So does anyone else have any questions before we?
Just two things.
Yeah.
I had a text message from Cisco, and for Justin and Cisco, they could hear you, but they couldn't engage in conversation. They had some technical problems, so they put their apologies in.
Okay.
But they could hear you, but they couldn't engage.
This has been recorded, the session as well, so we'll make sure that they get a copy of that recording. So they
Thank you. And Helen Slater as well.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll make it available for everyone, or anyone that missed. And Brian's slides as well will be available too.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out to attend, and thank you, Miranda, for chairing the meeting at short notice. So thanks, everyone, and you know, we're here if you need anything, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers,
Stay safe.
everybody. Thank you. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.